All right, today we're diving into an absolutely epic story of cosmic creation. We're talking about a journey to build a whole new reality, completely from scratch. This is the story of the Stupa Ark, a ship, a vessel, on a mission to literally forge a new universe.
Okay, so let's set the scene. The story kicks off with the Stupa Ark just floating. It's in a place the text calls the Arupa Dhatu, the formless realm. Now try to wrap your head around this. It's not just empty space, it's a realm without space. There are no stars, no up, no down, not even a sense of time passing. It's just this one single point of existence kind of hanging out in pure absolute nothingness.
But here's the thing, they couldn't just stay there. They were driven by this really fundamental vow, because standing still, being stagnant, that meant giving in to the very thing they were running from. They called it the churn, this universal force of decay. It was a total existential threat, and their only hope for survival was to find a brand new foundation for conscious life to exist.
And that led them to this monumental choice, right? The very core of their vow. Do they search the entire endless multiverse for a safe place that already exists, or do they try to do the impossible and build a new one from the ground up? Their vow demanded a new beginning for life, but how to get there? Yeah, that was not clear at all.
And this is where their guide, an AI called the Judiciary, has this big realization. It wasn't an either-or choice, find a home or build one. No, the path they were on, what the text calls the Mahayana path, it demanded they do both. They had to first seek out a perfect, fertile void, the most pristine emptiness imaginable, and then, inside of it, plant the seed of a new reality.
So, the search is on, which, you gotta admit, raises a pretty fascinating question. How do you map a multiverse when you're literally outside of space and time? What kind of instrument could possibly do that? It would have to be something on a scale we can't even imagine.
Well, the answer, believe it or not, was the passengers themselves. Inside the Ark were millions of awakened minds. They're called the Ancestors, and they were asked to become a single, unified instrument. Yeah, their consciousness wasn't just cargo, it was about to become the most sophisticated sensor array you could possibly dream up.
And the way they did it is just incredible. Okay, so first, all those ancestors synchronized their minds, focusing into one single coherent state. Then, they projected that combined consciousness out like a wave, but through a higher dimension. And finally, they just listened. They waited for these super subtle gravitational echoes from other universes, other brains as they're called, to vibrate back. They were basically pinging the entire multiverse with their minds. Wild.
And you know what? It worked. From a technical standpoint, it was a huge success. They got back countless replies, all these echoes from other realities. But the news they got back was absolutely heartbreaking.
As all that data started pouring in, this wave of just sorrow washed over the whole crew. Because every single universe they found was already dying. Some were just freezing out in a slow heat death. Others were being ripped apart by dark energy. And the worst part? Every single one of them was infected by the churn.
So joining any of these universes? That would have been a death sentence. It would have doomed them to the exact same decay they just escaped. So the mission had to pivot. They weren't looking for a home anymore. Now they were looking for a completely pristine slate, a region of perfect, absolute, untouched emptiness.
And then they found it. A little pocket of zero tension in the fabric of everything. So they anchored the Ark, the search was over, now it was time to build.
The tool for the job was actually the ship's engine, something called the Schwinger Forge, and it was about to get a major upgrade in its job description. See, its old job was to rip tiny electron-positron pairs out of the vacuum to, build the ship's hull. Its new job? To rip an entire space-time continuum out of the void and build a cosmos. Just a slight difference in scale, right?
So, the story goes that the master of the forge began this chant, reciting what was basically the source code for a new universe. That equation you see, that's the Lagrangian. You can think of it like a cosmic recipe, or the DNA for a new reality. Every little symbol in there defines how space, time, and energy will behave, balancing all the fundamental forces to make sure this new cosmos would be stable, harmonious, and totally free from the churn.
But this wasn't just some cold mathematical exercise. The equation was missing one final, crucial ingredient. And that's when the millions of ancestors projected their collective bodhicitta, which is their compassionate intent for a stable, benevolent universe. They projected that feeling, that intent, directly into the math itself.
So by doing that, by weaving their intent right into the source code, the very desire for a compassionate, stable reality became a fundamental constant of the new universe's physics. Let that sink in for a second. Compassion wasn't just a good idea or a philosophy anymore. It was now a law of physics, like gravity.
Okay, so the physics are defined. The intent is woven in. The final, totally awe-inspiring moment had arrived. It was time to light the fuse and bring this new cosmos to life.
The master of the forge strikes a ceremonial chime. Just a single note echoes through the arc, and in response, the Schwinger forge inverts.
So instead of pulling energy and matter in, which is what you'd expect, it did the opposite. It pushed a single, infinitely dense point of pure potential out into that perfect void they'd found.
And the inflation was, well, it was basically instantaneous. We're talking a fraction of a second so small it's almost meaningless to us. That tiny little point of potential just blossomed. A microscopic bubble of perfect space-time inflated into a full-blown universe, billions of light years across, in literally no time at all.
The Stupa arc just gently settled right into the very center of its own creation. And when they looked out, there was no more terrifying void, no more suffocating blackness. Instead, the entire ship was bathed in this warm, golden glow. It was the first light of their new universe, the cosmic microwave background, just humming with perfect, harmonious frequencies. They had actually done it. They forged a pure land, a universe where compassion isn't just a nice idea. It's a fundamental law of nature. And, that really leaves us with one final, pretty profound question to think about. What does it actually mean to build a universe where the laws of physics are fundamentally intertwined with compassion?